Hi there, I'm Elizabeth with Ellie's Handcrafted Jewelry and welcome to my channel where I share tips, tricks, and tutorials for those looking to learn the art of wire wrapping and wire weaving. And today we're doing something a little bit different. I was setting up for a pumpkin patch recently and I decided that I was going to go ahead and do a video on how to set up your own booth for craft markets and for shows and things of that nature. And I'm just going to kind of give you an idea of how to set up your own booth. Now this is going to be very much customized to who you are, who your brand is, and kind of how you want to see yourself represented. But at least this is going to give you some inspiration and give you some ideas, as well as kind of sharing some advice with you on what has helped make more successful markets for myself. And now let's go ahead and jump into the video. So just a little update with what's going on behind the scenes. Now, my room is a total disaster right now, but that's because I'm actually getting ready for the market. I know I promised you guys that I would kind of keep you in the loop as far as what I do to set up for my markets, as well as some of the things that go on behind the scenes to prepare for a good market. I also just wanted to let you know that I do have a show list that I have been adding to every year as the years have gone by. And this is just a list of things that I need to check off saying, yes, I'm bringing this along, bring this along. I'm going to go ahead and share that with you. If you'd like to find out more about that, in the description below, there is a link where you can find the show list guide. I just want to really provide this for you guys so that you have something to kind of reference. Because especially if you've never done one before, you're like, what in the world do I even need to bring? So if you want to check that out, I have that in the description below and you can sign up to receive that via email. And I'm just going to kind of walk you through some of the things that I do to set up for a successful market. I'm also going to show you, just kind of give you some inspiration by showing you my own booth setup and kind of what I'm thinking as I'm setting it up. I'll give you a little bit of a sneak peek of that tomorrow. So today we went and set up. I'm sorry I forgot to record any of that. I was busy handling my boys and helping my husband, who's also setting up next to me for his guitar business. Of course, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to clean all my jewelry. So that's why I have everything over here on my bench. Now, as you can see, I have a lot of jewelry to clean up so that they're sparkling for the show. I usually start off with my rotary tool to do the bulk of the work and then do any touching up with my pro polishing pads. And I'll leave some links in the description as to where I get both of them. Doesn't that look so much better? Next, I'm loading up all my pieces into my travel organizer. It makes toting my pieces to and from the market so much easier and keeps the chains from getting tangled. Plus, it'll help prevent them from tarnishing. You can even add those little oxygen absorber packets so you don't have to polish them as often. And I've left links in the description to these items as well. Next, on to my new sign. Now, my sweet husband used a CNC to cut out this sign for me from some leftover wood. And now I'm just giving it a new paint job to help my logo stand out better. Now, I highly recommend adding your business logo to your booth because it's going to help people better recognize your brand online and on social media. I so love how this turned out. One of the things I would suggest before getting into any market is just making sure that your demographic is going to be there. So that means understanding your customer, who they are and what they want. In this particular event, it's a pumpkin patch, so a lot of my clientele would be there. And of course, the area that I live is more rural, so there are a lot of people who are interested in my type of jewelry. So it makes it a little easier to kind of move the jewelry. One of the things that I would like to mention is that when you are setting up for a market, you want to make sure that you have things as far as pricing that are on the lower end as well as on the upper end. Statement pieces are actually really, really good to have. Even if they don't move very fast, it really catches the eye as people are walking by. So if you have some really intricate woven pieces, make sure to display those prominently. You draw the eye into that when they see that. And then if they look at the price tag and they go, oh, that's really too expensive for me, what else do you have? So then they start to kind of peruse whatever else you have on your table. The other thing I highly recommend is having kind of a variety. The very minimum that I have is pendants, earrings, and rings. Rings are particularly popular, but it's really nice to have earrings and pendants too because they fit more people than rings do. You also want to make sure that you have ring sizers so people can try them out. I've left some links in the description where you can get ring mandrels and those ring sizers. They're really great and really handy to have at events so people can figure out what the ring size is because most of the time people just don't know. You can also try having things like cuff bracelets or different kinds of bracelets. You can also do hairpins. I have been trying to make more tutorials for those particular things because I realized that not everybody likes to wear jewelry. Some people prefer like the hairpins. They're really, really fun to have. Kind of like this Agatha hairpin. I mean, look how cute it is. Look how cute it is. I have free tutorials and I have paid tutorials. I want to make sure that you guys are equipped for your markets, and especially with the Christmas season around the corner, I just want to make sure that you guys have plenty of things that you can make that will be of interest to people. Of course, the other thing I highly recommend having are earring cards, particularly with your logo and your website. Now, even if you have an Etsy website, having that website on there is really, really helpful. It's almost like having a little business card that you hand to people when they buy something. I always make sure that I put the price up front. People want to know what the price is up front. And then I will put the material description on the back. So this is amethyst and sterling silver. So people, when they're looking at it, they don't necessarily have to ask you and take up a lot of your time. They can just look. If they have more questions, of course, they can ask you. It's really good to have that information up front so that people can look and kind of make decisions as they go. Now, the other thing you're going to want to have is chain. And yesterday, I got so irritated trying to measure all of my chain that I just made a little jig for it. And this is just a piece of scrap wood that my husband had. And I put framing nails through it on either side. Don't leave it on the floor for yourself to step on, but you just put your chain across the top of it and cut, and you have instant chain. Well, I wouldn't say instant, but it's a lot faster to measure and a lot easier for yourself. If you're curious about where to find chain, I usually get them from Gem Plus. I think it's Gem 24 Plus or Gem Plus 24. I'll leave the link in the description below. They have a lot of really good, inexpensive chains. I like to give chains with my pendants. You can also do wax cord. They have those also, just as an option for people, because when you buy a pendant, you kind of expect to have a chain. It's usually an iron alloy, and there aren't a terrible amount of allergies to that particular metal, so I find that really useful. If you don't, you can always get the wax cords. They usually have a stainless steel clasps on them. But that's where I usually get my chains. They're inexpensive. If you want, you can actually buy raw copper chain or raw sterling silver chain. I usually get it from Rio Grande. The nice thing about their chain is that you can actually mark them up and sell them as a specialty item. So it's a good way to upsell. So if somebody really wants to have a more solid chain that's made from the same material as the pendant, then they can have that option as well. The other option I like to have at my booth are gift boxes. These particular ones are really I wouldn't say cheap. They're very inexpensive. I got them off of Amazon. You can see they're kind of a pillow top. They got a bit of a texture. You can get them plain. You can get them in just about any color. I'll link in the description where I got these particular ones on Amazon. But the thing I like about these is they have a little insert in them that you can place a pendant on. Just stick it in there. And it's just a really nice way to display your jewelry pieces. The other thing I recommend having for some of your jewelry is making sure that you have polishing pads available. A lot of people, when you buy copper jewelry in particular, it likes to tarnish very quickly, especially if you're in coastal areas. So I usually get these polishing pads. I know this one's not really pretty, it's not new, but these are really pro polishing pads from Rio Grande. I'll leave a link in the description where I get these. I'm not affiliated at all. These are just products that I use and I really appreciate. But these do a very good job and your customers will appreciate it. And they're not expensive. Just make sure that when you are adding things to your product that you are marking up the price a little bit to make sure you're compensating for it. Another thing I highly recommend is making sure that you have some elevation in your display. So for me, I have at least 3 layers or 3 tiers that display my jewelry. I have the base layer, which is these little platform pieces that my husband made for me. And then I have my actual displays, and I have a couple different sizes. I have taller ones and I have shorter ones. And then in the corner here, I have a shelf display, and I just kind of use it as a feature piece to draw more attention to the booth. You like to have elevation in your booth because it really catches the eye and draws the person in. And they usually start on the top and then kind of move their way down. So you want to make sure that you have your statement pieces on top and then just kind of slowly trickling down to more affordable pieces or simpler pieces. Another thing you're going to notice about my table is that it is very branded. And what I mean by that is it has my brand colors, it has a very similar style and very similar decor to what you would see on my website. And the reason you want this is because it makes the customer's experience very seamless from looking in person at your booth to going online. So that way they are not like, who was that person and why I'm on this website, but that doesn't look like this is the right person. You really want to make sure that your branding kind of captures that and make sure that it is seamless from in person to online. So with me, it's like with my branding colors, with the vibe, it's kind of rustic, it's kind of country farm style. It's got the dark burgundy colors, and then other things like my business cards, my flyers, my signs, everything is branded. So that way when people look at it, they go online at my website and look at my website and they go, oh, this is the same person. Another option you would probably like to have at the booth is just a bunch of stones. And the reason why I say bring cabochons and stones with you is because sometimes somebody will come to your booth, really appreciate your jewelry, but maybe not like the exact color or the gemstone that you have, but they like the style. So what you can do is you can actually pull out some gemstones and go, I can do it custom for you. I can do this exact style, but with your chosen gemstone. So it really opens up a lot of options for you as well as the customer. So it's kind of a win-win situation for you too. Now I realize that this video so far is very extensive and maybe you have a very minimal budget and maybe you're just starting out. These are the very basics that I would recommend. One, you're going to need a table. And you could use just a 6-foot table. You could borrow that. Some fairgrounds and places will actually rent them to you for an inexpensive fee. And then you'll need a tablecloth, of course, to go over that. Links in the description below where you can find tablecloths for those. I like the fitted, but you can get the stretchy kind as well. You'll want to make sure that, of course, you have displays to display your pieces. There are really great places to get them. Actually, one of the places that I got mine was Ross. And I just kind of went in there and I looked in their jewelry section and sure enough there was a display there that was absolutely cute and went with my decor, so I purchased it. Now, if you are looking at Joann's and Michael's, you probably shouldn't buy those. And the reason why I say that is just because they're more expensive. They're really highly marked up. So if you're going to buy anything, there's a couple places online that you can buy them. You can get them from gemsondisplay.com. You can also get them from Amazon. There's another one too. I'll leave some links in the description where I've gotten them in the past. You can also get branded earring cards from Gems on Display as well. So if you're doing that, you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Now, once you have your displays, you want to make sure that you have some kind of signage to show who you are, as well as some information, contact information. So even if you don't have a website, taking emails and phone numbers is a really great way to start. And that's just to keep people in touch with you. So that way, when you do get your website done, you can email those people and go, hey, look, I have a website, or hey, I have an Etsy page. So make sure you have something to both give contact information and take contact information from people. That might mean having business cards, but even then, if you don't, that's okay. Just making sure that you have some kind of signage. So for me, I actually went to the Dollar Tree and I bought some picture frames and just printed out my logo. That's literally what I did when I first started. And that's what, maybe a couple dollars in ink and the frame. So it's really inexpensive to do it that way. That way you have something that says, I am who I am. Of course, the other thing you're going to want to have is your chair. Make sure you bring a comfy chair because you might be sitting for long periods, although I hope that you're not sitting, because the other thing you should know is you should be standing and engaging with people. A lot of times it's really easy, especially for me because I'm so introverted. I like to sit down and just hope for people to come to my booth, but they don't. They just keep wandering by. They might glance at your jewelry, but unless you engage with them, they don't necessarily feel like they should come look at your pieces. So you want to kind of maybe ask them about their day, ask them how things are going, ask them if they want to look at your pieces. Maybe you want to compliment their outfit and say, hey, I have a piece that goes with that. It's really hard for an introvert to do that. Believe me, I know. I would rather be here in my studio making pieces. But sometimes you have to go out and grab people. And if you are not good at that, bring someone along who is. Like my mom, I bring my mom with me. And I bring her with me because she's really good at grabbing people's attention for me. She may not know everything about my work, but at least she's grabbing the attention for me, so that way people will ask me questions that I can give them answers. The other thing you'll probably want to have is some kind of cash box. The reason why I say that is mostly just to protect your literal assets. You want to make sure that you have a place to keep money and change. When you are selling your pieces, I highly recommend rounding up. So if you're doing like 95 cents on the dollar, you might want to round that up to a whole dollar because it'll make it easier as far as doing change. You definitely want to have one probably with a lock on it, so that way you can lock it up and just make sure you take it home with you at the end of the day. So if it's a 2-day event, bring it home with you. Don't leave it there, obviously. Also, you'll probably want to have a card reader. My husband actually just got one from PayPal. It's a Zettel card reader. It works really well. Mine's through Shopify, so I have a Shopify, but you can even do Square. I believe Square is free, so it's a great place to start, and it actually connects to your Etsy shop if you have an Etsy shop. So definitely those are must-haves for your booth. Another thing you'll probably want to have is some kind of Ziploc bag or a resealable bag. Those are really great, like if you sell your pieces. Usually what I do with my pieces, if they don't want to purchase a gift box, is I will take an earring card and cut angled slots on either side and then feed the chain through that, and then put it in a resealable bag with a polishing cloth. Now you don't have to put a polishing cloth in there, you can just put it in a resealable bag with the display card, just so that's a little bit nicer and it's easier for them to take home. I also buy these little thank you bags on Amazon just to put their jewelry pieces in. You can even sneak things in there, like a coupon card to purchase from you in the future, perhaps even like a thank you card with your business information about who you are and why you do what you do. I just try to do this as much as I can so that way people get to know me better. And it's just a really great way to kind of continue to connect with them even after they've made their purchase. Now, another thing I'm going to share with you, which I don't know if I need the competition, but I think it's okay. The other thing I'm going to share with you is going to the thrift store to look for interesting decor options. So I actually found a little riser there at the thrift store for literally $1. It actually kind of helps bring up the booth a little bit. And you can even look at like old drawers. I have this old drawer that I refurnished and just kind of made it a piece to kind of draw in more attention. Sometimes you can find displays there even. So going to the thrift store is a really great place. Sometimes you can even find runners and tablecloths and other glass decor, and it just kind of depends on what kind of vibe you're going for. Maybe baskets. Like there's so many different things you can get from a thrift store. So head to your nearest one and see what it is that you can find there. Another fun thing that you might have, and you actually might find at the thrift store, are jewelry books. Well, gemstone books. And sometimes people have questions about gemstones. And if you're like me, you like gemstones, but you don't know everything about them, these are really great to have on hand. So if somebody's like, hey, what is this stone over here? You can actually look it up in one of your books. Of course, if you have a smartphone, I guess you can look it up there too. But sometimes it's nice to have something that's like on hand that the customer can look at or peruse while they're looking at your pieces. And if you have a great stone seller, like I do with Kazdans, you can actually... They can request a particular stone from you, and then you can go to Cassandra at Kazdans and go, hey, do you have this? If not, she could probably find it for you. But these are just really great ways to give a visual to people, and people like things that are tangible as well. So highly recommend. Another thing you'll probably want to bring that you might not actually think of are rulers and pliers. So I bring rulers and pliers with me because I usually end up having to make more chain while I'm there, or even having to repair a piece. Sometimes that does happen. Somebody drops it on the ground, a kid plays with it. It's good to have those things on hand, so if you have to make any repairs or create more chain, you can do that. Another thing you'll probably want to keep a lookout for is when preparing your jewelry pieces for the event, maybe looking at like what the holiday that's coming up. So like for me, we're in October right now. We're going to the pumpkin patch, so you're gonna want to have things that are pumpkin-y and fall-like, so autumn themed. You may also go ahead and start creating Christmas trees and snowmen, snowflakes, that kind of thing, because people are starting to get into that feel and that groove for the season that's coming up. For me, I do 3 shows a year. I do one in October, one November, and one December. And each show I make sure to update my jewelry so that way I have something that's related to the upcoming holiday. By doing this, I kind of make it easier to make the sale, basically, because people are like, oh, I know somebody who loves this season. And so usually they buy it as gifts, but they'll even buy it for themselves because they really want to celebrate the season. It's a great way to make more sales, and it's also a great way to celebrate the season that you're in. That's it for today, so let's see what we come up with tomorrow. And I'll be sure to take you guys along so you can see my booth, and we'll see how the day goes. And here's my booth. As you can see, I have multiple layers to draw the eye in, with most of my statement pieces at the top, while my simpler, more affordable pieces are at the bottom. I also have a place to display my earrings using earring cards with my logo. Yes, this is my old logo, but I didn't have the heart to throw them away, so I just went with it. You'll see that I have multiple signs explaining to potential customers that I take cards, classes that I have available, and that matching chains are included with their purchase. You can customize this to your needs, but it'll help inform the customer so that you can focus on engaging customers rather than always answering questions. I do think I need to think of a more clever way to display my hairpins, but laying them on the table will have to work for now. You also notice that all my brand colors are there and that the decor indicates a more rustic and elegant vibe that is cohesive with my online presence. So there's my booth. And I hope that this video was helpful to you and that it provides some kind of inspiration for how you can set up your own booth. Again, if you'd like to download the free show list guide, I have that available in the description below, as well as a little card that'll pop up here. YouTube will give you a card. And it's free to download. You just go to my website, check out with it, and it will be sent to you via email. And I hope that you have a wonderful day, some very successful markets, and until next time, happy weaving.